Madrid in the 1700s was a royal capital still defining itself. By the 18th century, Madrid had been Spain's capital for more than 100 years. Its population hovered around 150,000 people by mid-century, making it one of Europe's larger cities. It was not a port. It had no great river. Its power came from the court, from the king, from the empire that stretched across oceans. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, engravings, and prints to life, allowing us to shift perspective, change camera angles, and move through the same scenes in ways their original artists never could. We can step into the streets, we can rise above rooftops, we can stand where artists once stood and look in every direction. I want to talk about the heart of Madrid. This is Plaza Mayor. This view shows a vast rectangular square enclosed on all sides by red brick buildings with uniform arcades. The Casa de la Panadería anchors one end, its facade painted and symmetrical. In the foreground, wooden market stalls cluster under canvas awnings. In the midground, townspeople gather, women in shawls, men in cloaks, soldiers in uniform. In the background, balconies are crowded with faces. By the 1700s, Plaza Mayor had already survived fires, including a devastating blaze in 1790 that required major rebuilding under architect Juan de Villanueva. But in the early 18th century, it remained the city's public stage. Markets filled it with vegetables, meat, and bread. Bullfights were held here. So were royal celebrations, and, at darker moments, public punishments organized by the Inquisition. The air would have smelled of smoke, animals, and damp stone. Vendors shouted, church bells echoed from nearby towers. Crowds pressed tightly together, and in times of panic, stampedes were real dangers. Plaza Mayor mattered because it concentrated power and people in one controlled space. It was theater, it was discipline, it was community. Today, remarkably, this square still stands. The arcades remain. The shape is unchanged. The fires and executions are gone. The space feels calmer, but the walls have seen everything. This is the Royal Alcázar of Madrid. This view shows a fortress palace rising above the city skyline. Its towers are heavy and Habsburg in style. The Manzanares River winds in the distance. In the foreground, royal guards stand watch. By 1700, the War of the Spanish Succession was underway. Charles II had died without an heir in 1700, and Philip V of Bourbon would emerge as king in 1914. The Alcázar became the center of this new Bourbon dynasty. Inside, rooms were filled with tapestries, portraits, and court officials. Servants hurried along corridors. Diplomats waited in antechambers. The air smelled of wax and polished wood. But on Christmas Eve in 1734, disaster struck. A fire broke out and burned for 4 days. Contemporary accounts describe flames visible across the city. Paintings were thrown from windows to save them. The old Alcázar was reduced to ruins. This destruction mattered. It marked the end of Habsburg Madrid and the beginning of something new. On this same site, the Royal Palace would rise. This is the Royal Palace of Madrid. This view shows the newly constructed Palacio Real, begun in 1738 under Philip V and largely completed under Charles III. It is grand, symmetrical, and built in stone. Italian architects like Filippo Juvara and later Giovanni Battista Sacchetti shaped its design. In the foreground, carriages roll over packed earth. Nobles descend in silk and powdered wigs. In the background, the palace stretches wide against the sky, a symbol of Bourbon authority. By the reign of Charles III, who ruled from 1759 to 1788, Madrid underwent major reforms. Street lighting improved, sewers were expanded, the city began to look more ordered. Life around the palace was rigid and hierarchical. Guards drilled in courtyards, courtiers whispered about politics. Outside its gates, common citizens watched with curiosity and sometimes resentment. The palace mattered because it projected stability after war and fire. It announced that Spain remained a European power. Today, this palace still dominates Madrid's skyline. Visitors walk through halls once reserved for royalty. This is Puerta del Sol. This view shows an open, irregular space where several roads converge. By the 1700s, Puerta del Sol had grown into a busy urban crossroads. In the foreground, mule-drawn carts pass. In the midground, inns and shops line the edges. In the background, church towers rise. The name comes from an earlier city gate that once stood here. By this century, the walls were fading in importance and the city was expanding. Puerta del Sol was noisy. Messengers delivered royal decrees, street vendors sold food, travelers arrived from other regions of Spain. The smell of dust and animals filled the air. Crowds could become tense. Pickpockets operated here. Political rumors spread quickly, especially during times of war or economic hardship. This space mattered because it connected Madrid to the rest of Spain. Roads radiated outward from here. Today, Puerta del Sol remains one of the city's central gathering points. The shape has evolved, but the energy remains. This is the Prado before it was a museum. This view shows a broad, tree-lined promenade known as the Paseo del Prado. By the reign of Charles III, it was redesigned as part of Enlightenment reforms. The king wanted Madrid to reflect reason and order. In the foreground, elegant citizens stroll beneath trees. Fountains like the Fountain of Cibeles and Neptune anchor the landscape. In the background, scientific buildings rise, including what would later become the Prado Museum, originally conceived in 1885 as a cabinet of natural history. Daily life here felt calmer. Families walked, carriages rolled slowly, the smell of greenery replaced the tighter air of inner streets. But even here, class divisions were visible. The wealthy displayed fashion, the poor observed from edges. The Prado mattered because it signaled a shift. Madrid was not only a court city, it was becoming a city of ideas. Today, this same boulevard houses world-famous museums. The Enlightenment vision survives in stone. This is the Buen Retiro Palace and Gardens. This view shows formal gardens stretching outward from palace buildings. By the early 1700s, parts of the Buen Retiro complex were already declining after the previous century's glory. In the foreground, fountains trickle. In the midground, nobles gather for music or theater. In the background, landscaped greenery contrasts with dry plains beyond. The Retiro had once been a symbol of Habsburg leisure. By the Bourbon period, its importance shifted. Some buildings deteriorated, others reused. Life here felt more relaxed, but it was still political. Royal appearances shaped public opinion. Festivals reinforced loyalty. The gardens mattered because they offered controlled nature inside a rigid court society. Today, El Retiro Park is open to everyone. What was once restricted to royalty is now public space. This is the Church of San Francisco el Grande. This view shows a massive dome rising above surrounding rooftops. Construction of the current church began in 1761 under Charles III. In the foreground, friars move quietly. Worshippers enter heavy wooden doors. Incense lingers in the air. By the late 1700s, Spain remained deeply Catholic. The church influenced education, charity, and censorship. Religious processions filled streets. But tensions simmered. Enlightenment ideas questioned old systems. The Inquisition still existed, though its power was gradually changing. The church mattered because faith structured daily life. Today, its dome still dominates the skyline. It reminds visitors of Madrid's spiritual past. This is a typical Madrid street. This view shows narrow lanes with tall wooden balconies. Laundry hangs above. Water flows unevenly along stone gutters. By the 1700s, sanitation remained a challenge. Before Charles III's reforms, waste was sometimes thrown from windows. Street lighting was limited. The air could smell unpleasant in summer. Disease was a real threat. Fires spread quickly between wooden structures. Yet these streets were alive. Children played, bakers worked before dawn, artisans shaped metal and leather. These neighborhoods mattered because they sustained the court. They were the labor behind royal spectacle. Today, many of these streets still wind through central Madrid, though cleaner and safer. This is the Manzanares River. This view shows a modest river flowing west of the city. It was never grand like the Seine or Thames. In the foreground, washerwomen kneel along the banks. In the midground, small bridges connect districts. In the background, the city rises gently. Flooding could occur after heavy rain. At other times, the river ran low. Though small, it mattered for daily chores and limited agriculture. It also marked a boundary between city and countryside. Today, the river has been reshaped and landscaped. It feels controlled, but its course remains. This is Madrid at dusk in the late 1700s. This view shows rooftop.
This is Madrid at dusk in the late 1700s. This view shows rooftops under fading light. Church bells ring. Smoke rises from chimneys. Carriages move slowly through plazas. By 1788, Charles III died. His reign had modernized the city. Yet beyond Madrid, the world was changing. The American Revolution had succeeded. The French Revolution would erupt in 1789. Madrid stood between tradition and change. It was royal and religious. It was also cautious and reforming. The 1700s shaped the Madrid we recognize today. Fires destroyed, kings rebuilt, ideas reshaped streets. What feels distant becomes close when we move through it. These plazas, these palaces, these streets still exist. The crowds are different, the sounds have changed, but the stone remains. Madrid in the 1700s mattered not because it was the largest city in Europe, but because it was the center of an empire learning to adapt. With AI reconstruction, we can stand inside these old engravings and look around. We can step beyond the frame. If there's another city, moment, or scene you'd like to see reconstructed like this, let me know in the comments. Again, thank you so much. You have not enough humanizer words left. Upgrade your surfer plan.